Hello and welcome to How to Homeschool in High School, the podcast focused on encouraging and equipping you to homeschool through high school, hosted by a high school teen. My name is Nadine Loffer, and on today's episode, we're talking all things scouting, 4-H, and homeschooling with Elizabeth. So I met Elizabeth through actually the convention again. That's going to be a common theme over the next few months. You're going to see a lot of interviews that I got from the convention, but she's one of them. I got to talk with some people from American Heritage Girls, and she also happened to be there, and they brought her to my booth, and we're like, here's a homeschooler doing something really cool. She earned the Stars and Stripes Award, which is, if you're unfamiliar with American Heritage Girls program, I'm going to give a little explanation here at the beginning to give context to the rest of the interview, but I've been involved in American Heritage Girls for 6 years, I believe, 5 years, 6 years, and it's been probably one of the single best things in our homeschooling experience. My family would totally agree with me on that. I absolutely love the community we found through it. It's a scouting troop. And it's very heavily associated with Trail Life, which is like its counterpart. It's like a Girl Scouts and a Boy Scouts. It is a Christian organization, so is Trail Life. And they do all sorts of badges, all sorts of projects. Community service is a big thing. And that's the same with the boy counterpart, Trail Life. And there's awards for each of them, very similar to, if you're familiar with anything with Boy Scouts, you know about the Eagle Award being like the ultimate award you can get through Boy Scouts. And with Trail Life and American Heritage Girls, they both have similar awards. Trail Life has the Freedom Award, and American Heritage Girls has the Stars and Stripes Award. And the project associated with the Stars and Stripes Award is humongous. It is an incredible undertaking. It's an incredible accomplishment. 100 hours of service, so much volunteer hours. It's crazy. It's super fun. I love to see girls do it because it really does not only make an impact on the community, but also an impact on themselves and the troop, and encourages younger girls to do it and make an impact. So anyway, Elizabeth is one of those girls who has done this project. And I was so grateful that she came on the podcast. She walks us through the entire project, how that has benefited her, what that looked like for her, and also her homeschooling experience along with that, how they found American Heritage Girls and how that has benefited them. And then as well as her 4-H experience. And she has quite a lot of that. I've never really dive deeply into learning more about 4-H, so this was really interesting for me to hear. It goes beyond so much more than animal showing, which is like the extent of my knowledge, as you will see in the interview. But yeah, it's quite a fun conversation. I hope you guys enjoy listening. And in this interview, if anything, it's about building a good community around you and what happens when you lean into the organizations that are in your area and how that can bless your homeschooling experience in a really powerful way. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation. Welcome, Elizabeth, to the podcast. Thank you so much for being with us today. One of my goals from Great Homeschool Conventions was to get a student interview. So you're kind of like a dream come true interview today. So thank you for being with us.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll usually just start out by asking, how did you guys first start homeschooling, or what was your homeschooling journey?
So I started out, my older sister went to a private school, and I went there for one day. I was very shy when I was little. So I went there for one day, and I did not like being separated from my parents. So then the next day they went to drop me off, and I was little. I was like, no, I don't want to stay. So then my mom just brought me back home, and then my dad kind of had to figure out what to do with me. So I started with small like math workbooks and stuff, and eventually then we transferred into Memoria Press and some other like Saxon math and different things for different subjects.
Cool. So you've been homeschooling ever since?
Yeah.
Cool. And is the rest of your family homeschooled, or is it just you?
Yeah. All my siblings are homeschooled. My older sister, who was at the private school, she switched over to homeschooling, I think after 3rd grade.
Okay.
So
cool. What was it about homeschooling that you guys ended up really liking?
Well, I think also once we started it, my parents really liked that community of not necessarily being in mainstream for everything.
Yeah.
Like there's, especially being Catholic, which of course, and other Christians as well.
Mhm.
Sometimes you don't want to be in the mainstream for everything.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
We were in public school until I was in fourth grade. Yeah, and it's hard to have your own ideas, and it's just weird. The whole system is not it's not pro Christian thought now. It's just become something very, very different. So surviving in that is often very difficult. That's why I love the thriving communities that are in homeschooling. See, already. Because for that reason, we really get to be in the Word and surrounded by other Christians at a very higher level than you would if you were regular in the system, which I appreciate a lot. So that's really neat. What grade are you currently in now?
Um, I have one more year of school.
Okay,
Yeah,
one
so
more.
I'm going to be senior this coming year.
Oh, cool. That's exciting. And so how has high school been for you? So what have you done curriculum-wise and
Um,
then schedule-wise?
yeah, it's been, I don't know, high school. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's kind of just been the same as all the other years for me because I don't know, there wasn't very much of it.
Mm.
It's I'm still at home. There isn't really any, I don't know, different
Yeah.
classes, that sort of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah, and then I'm in a homeschool group, so
Okay.
we do different activities, which I know a lot of people are unsure about social life when it comes to
Hmm.
homeschooling. So for me, I have a homeschool group that we do different activities with.
Hmm.
And I'd almost say when you're homeschooled, it's your parents decide your how much social time you get, I guess almost.
Yeah.
Like they decide, okay, we're going to drive to this event so that you can have social time. When you're I mean, I haven't had experience with being at a public school, but I'd say from what I've heard, it's more if a kid goes and talks to other kids, they've got their social time
Hmm.
sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to be intentional with getting to social groups. That's one
Yeah.
thing that parents and students, I feel like when we get higher up into high school, it kind of becomes our responsibility as well to initiate
Yeah.
those things. But when you're especially when you're younger, like it has to be the parents'
Yeah.
initiative to do those things. That can make or break like the stereotypes that surround homeschooling because I've met homeschool families that, don't go anywhere and it's not very good. So the more
Yeah.
you get out, the better. Homeschool groups are cool. So is it like it's not a co-op, but is it like a group you guys do like field trips with?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's uh it pretty much yeah, they arrange different activities
Hmm.
or sports and stuff. Like I play ultimate frisbee.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, and like you said uh back to me sort of making it happen.
Hmm.
I'll have to go up to my dad and be like, okay, we leave for frisbee at this time on this day.
Hmm.
Yeah, so sports. Also, sometimes they have like talent shows and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So
Yeah.
there's like all different activities. Yeah,
And how did you guys first get involved in that? How do you find it?
I honestly am not completely sure because
Mhm.
I was little at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I think my dad knew other people.
Okay.
There was a lot of crossover between my sister's private school that she went to and homeschool. Like there were a lot of people that kind of
Mm.
went back and forth a little, I think, and so he knew had connections to other homeschoolers and
Yeah.
found out about the group. At least that's how I think it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we did find ours. It's very similar. You're to the group. We don't have a co-op, but we do have a group, and we found them through Facebook actually. So
Oh,
there's a
nice.
lot of different ways to, and word of mouth seems to be the main thing though. It's just kind
Yeah,
of because that's how we found about our sports group was word of mouth. So yeah, that's also important to listen and to ask people, what are they doing for homeschooling? How do you get involved? And that's very important
yeah.
to do. So I've gotten this question a lot. Actually, I got it a lot at the convention with like seventh graders worried about the workload in high school. So did you see a crazy shift in the amount of work you were doing from like eighth to ninth grade?
I wouldn't say it's crazy, but I mean, as you get higher in school, there is more
Yeah.
work,
Hmm.
and you just have to kind of decide where you're going to spend your time. Uh,
Yeah.
and I mean, also you can being homeschooled, you can shift your work hours to whatever
Hmm.
matches your schedule. So if you work best in the morning, you wake up early, you start working, and then if in the afternoon you need to take a break, you you
Yeah.
just do what works for you. I know, like me personally, I've been an early bird, so I'll get up early,
Hmm.
and then one
Yeah.
of my sisters likes to sleep in late, so she would just her hours would be shifted kind of, her
Hmm.
work hours. So
Yeah, I love that because it's different for every single person in the family, as it
yeah,
is different for every family that homeschooled. Um, yeah, and I think also it's gradual. Like the increase in work, it
yeah,
kind of it builds. So it's not like all of a sudden we're working at a, I don't know, senior level. Like it's
yeah,
a gradual building of workload, and you get used to it.
yeah.
Um, what have you noticed like the best way that you find to help you stay productive doing your schoolwork as a homeschooler?
That is a great question. I will say it is kind of hard sometimes to stay focused.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes even just deciding, okay, I'm not going to do this fun thing until I get this task done.
Hmm.
Even that sometimes can help. I'd say it varies depending on the person. So, like each person kind of has to figure out what works best for them. Uh, so yeah, just giving yourself a goal, uh, waking up early or whatever time you work best at. For me, it's
Yeah.
early.
Mhm.
Just working during those productive hours. So then, when you're not as productive, it's okay. You've got a good chunk done.
Yeah. I like that a lot because there's some hours of the day I just don't work very well.
Yeah, in the afternoon, I just get tired.
Yeah. So I find if I do my harder, like not all my harder stuff, but push my work as early as possible, I get the most done in the day. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but that is something that you have to be patient with yourself to figure out because it's not
yeah,
gonna work. Like I've tried other methods and sometimes it just doesn't work for me. I'm like, okay, well that doesn't work. So you kind of have to be patient with yourself to build that productivity. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, but did you find like do you have any online classes or anything that holds you accountable outside of your home? Has that helped you? Or
Not really, not currently.
okay,
Um, I mean, I do have classes on the computer, but they're not exactly like with a real person teacher sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So, but I do have friends who do co-ops and stuff, and I'll hear them saying, "Oh, I have to get this done by this day."
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm not currently doing one either. I'm doing self-paced. Is that kind of what it is? Self-paced
yeah,
sort of
sort of.
online. Okay. Because that still makes me, I don't know, it keeps me a little bit more accountable, but having a live teacher really does change the vibe of my homeschool day because I'm
Yeah,
like, oh well, it's just a little bit extra level of accountability seems to
yeah,
help me because I'm a naturally procrastinate. I just do.
yeah.
So
I think everybody has a little bit of that.
yeah, yeah, I would agree. So just to give some other homeschoolers some ideas, what are some of your favorite curriculums you've used over the years?
um, I've done a lot of Memoria Press,
Okay.
some Saxon like for math
Mhm.
and stuff. Uh, Trying to think. Yeah, honestly, I think it's mostly Memoria Press that I've
Mm.
used.
We've only ever done their book studies. Do you guys do those?
Um, I've done a few of their like online literature
Mm.
classes.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, other than that, I don't know, a lot of their classes like Latin.
Mm. Yeah, I know very, very little about Memory Press besides their like Little Women book studies and Iliad. But I didn't know they had online classes. How did those work?
So, generally I've done it when they'll have like one that's a trial sort of thing,
Okay.
to get you interested in it, so you take the other ones, and that one is like a really big class.
Hmm.
But generally the classes are smaller, and pretty much you read the book on your own, and then you fill out the comprehension questions and stuff, and then they'll like discuss it as a
Okay.
video call.
That sounds
So
cool.
yeah,
Definitely something to look into. I really do like Memory Press. Yeah, we've only ever done very small with them, but that's cool. Good. So we kind of touched upon social community, building, a community around you of activities and stuff. So, but we really didn't touch upon HG. So, how did you guys first get started with American Heritage Girls?
um, I started when I was like 6, maybe. I started as a Pathfinder. That's the lowest level. I remember I used to watch. I don't remember. I don't know how we heard about it. Maybe from somebody else who we knew or something. I don't know. But I remember my older sister used to always go to Scouts, and I was excited when I could finally go to Scouts too. I'm like, Yeah. So we have a picture of us standing on the porch, or my first day, and I was excited to go to that. So then I've been a part of AHG all the way up through all the levels. Um, and I was actually fortunate to get in as a Pathfinder because there were a lot of people who wanted to join and couldn't get in. So um, anyway, having gotten the opportunity to join at the very beginning, I thought it seemed appropriate to try and go for my Stars and Stripes.
Hmm.
It was kind of almost a like completion of the program, coming back around to
Yeah.
when I started it. And Stars and Stripes is for anybody who doesn't know is uh, a volunteer project, pretty much for a nonprofit organization. Uh, in order to achieve it, uh, a girl needs to lead 100 hours of service.
Yeah.
So she has
Yeah.
to have a lot of volunteers helping
Yeah.
to count towards those 100 hours. Um, for my project, I did a mosaic at Our Lady of the Holy Spirit Center in
Mm.
Norwood, Ohio, near Cincinnati.
Yeah. It's a big project. I've
Yeah,
seen, I've seen, how many of my friends? Three of my troop, because we're also involved in American Heritage Girls, go through it. And yeah, the not only just the project itself, but the paperwork that's involved is kind of crazy
yes,
too. I was like, wow,
yeah,
this is a full blown. I appreciate it because I feel like it teaches you how to go about these things in the adult world. Like it's just
yeah.
it's there's a lot of it to go through. Before we actually jump into the project, I was wondering how have you seen like American Heritage Girls benefit you in your homeschooling experience?
It's been like it's been there from the beginning.
Hmm.
So I feel like I wouldn't know what it's like without it.
That's true. That's true.
But it definitely has helped me to become a better leader. Like but I was when I was little, I mentioned I was too shy to stay at school. So I think that has really helped me to grow and to take on a project like Stars and Stripes. I don't think I would have done that if I hadn't been through the American Heritage Girls program. And even aside from that, though, it has taught me a lot of things through the different badges I've done. So yeah, like one of my favorites was cake decorating.
Oh yeah, we did that one too.
Yeah, that one was really fun. Rock climbing, all the sort of
Mm,
things that I probably wouldn't have done without
exactly.
American Heritage Girls.
Yeah.
It's like, or like things you didn't even, you wouldn't have considered. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah,
I feel sometimes it blends really well into homeschooling as well. I think what do we do? I've seen families in my community, like if they're studying the Constitution, they'll get our Constitution badge, or if they're doing something like I don't know, you mentioned this like horsemanship. Me and my sister, we ride horses all the time. So it blends really well into homeschooling, I think, because you can really kind of work it into your curriculum sometimes.
yeah,
I thought that was cool. But yeah, you're right. You do things you never would have, like I would probably would have never cake decorated. I'm just not a baker. But
yeah.
it was cool to learn all that stuff. There's so much to learn in the world. Um, yeah, so I guess we can jump into the project more. So when was it that you first got the idea for your Stars and Stripes project?
So honestly, when I first heard about it, when I don't remember how old I was, but there was a girl who like finished the American Heritage Girls program. She didn't get her Stars and Stripes, but they did mention it just to tell the other girls about the option. And I heard about it. I'm like, huh, I want to try and do that. It'd be a good challenge. And so then as I got older and more closer to the time to do it, my older sister got it. I saw it was a lot of work, but I still decided, okay, I'm gonna go for this. It it definitely takes a lot of determination, and if you don't have that determination, it's gonna be really hard. Even like even with determination, there are times during a project that I'm like, ugh, it's like it's you almost feel like you can't achieve it, but then you remember you remember who you're doing it for and
Mhm.
how much they're going to appreciate it and helping them to uh I literally lost my train of thought.
Oh,
Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
I get what you're saying. It's important to remind yourself of the purpose behind what you're doing,
Yeah,
and that's
and
a
it's like
driving force.
there would be it was at a retreat center, so there would be
Mm,
nuns that would walk by and see the project, and uh, just seeing them and how excited they were to have a another mosaic at their place and
Yeah.
everything. It's just it gave me more determination to finish the project, I
Hmm.
guess.
Yeah, and I like how you said that you saw how much hard work it was for your sister to do it, but you still wanted to do it too. Like things that are hard, they're worthwhile, you know? And so I think the value in the Stars and Stripes project is worth all of the effort that you have to put in,
Yes,
for
yeah.
sure.
Now my sister's at college, and she'll even like talking to us back at home. She'll say, "Oh, I have to do this mini stars and stripes, whatever," or "I have to write a spiritual walk essay as part of the stars and stripes. You have to write that," and she'll be like, "Oh, I have to do a spiritual walk essay." She'll like refer back to the program, and it's kind of funny. It's like so it definitely prepared her for what she needed to
Yeah.
what she the skills she needed at college. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a wonderful point. Yeah. Um, there's so many different layers to it, but beyond just the project, like you mentioned, the spiritual walk essay. So I actually don't know too much about it, so we'll get into that too. But I also wanted to mention, you talked about the building up of the um, leadership skills in AHG. I feel like they do a
Yes.
great job because there's like little mini projects you do. Well, not many. They're big projects to get the other
Yeah.
level up awards to work out
Yes.
for Stars and Stripes. Did you feel like they prepared you for the project Stars and Stripes?
Yes, I would say that they did. Um, it's like each level gets a little bit harder, each level award. So I feel like they are kind of working towards the Stars and Stripes. Of course, I'd say the biggest jump is from the last one before Stars and Stripes to the Stars and Stripes, but it's definitely easier with those building you up for that. And then even within AHG, there's different like positions to hold and stuff that that help as well.
Mhm.
That's so,
Yeah, and building those leadership skills, building the teamwork skills, is very valuable, I think, in homeschooling. Sometimes, we work with our siblings. In my case, I only have one sibling, so it's not really a full team. But
yeah.
getting to lead a group of girls, getting to participate in teams, I feel like that's provided majority in my homeschooling. That's been provided to me through HG. Is that something you
Yes.
think of too?
Yeah. Yes. Definitely working together with other people. I mean, honestly, on my own, I'm not very good at working with other people, but so it's been good to have that experience and like stretch myself to do things that I'm not as comfortable with, to prepare me for the future. Because I'm sure that there'll be times that I do have to work with other people.
Yeah. For sure. I think that I'm same. If I can work alone, I'll work alone. Like that's just how I
Yeah.
go. Um, so me getting to and sometimes dealing with hard situations too, like people that don't disagree with you or having to lead them, even though things don't go exactly as planned, which has happened to me. I mean, my little Abigail Adams project that I did compared to Stars and Stripes is little, but you run into problems where things don't go
Yeah.
exactly as you hoped it would, and then you have to deal with that too. So there's just so many good skills that HG provides you opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
Um,
And then like writing about afterwards what didn't go as
yeah,
planned, that helps you think about it and plan better for next time.
exactly.
Of course,
Exactly.
something will always go wrong, but it'll be a different something.
Yeah. Yeah. And learning that you can overcome it too, and different writing down, reflecting. That's very important on how
Yes.
you overcame the problems ingrained in your brain. I can do it. I can overcome these problems.
Yeah.
Um, and so you mentioned a little bit about what your project was. Mosaic? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you first decide that was going to be your project?
Well, there was a statue at the entrance of Our Lady of the Holy Spirit Center,
Mhm.
um, a statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe, and they had been wanting to do something over in that area. The center
Mhm.
had to make it, you know, more decorated to help people reflect and meditate and everything.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought it would be appropriate to do a project for the Holy Spirit Center since that's where our troop used to meet when I first
Oh.
started.
Oh,
So I'm like,
cool.
I want to do something to help the center.
Yeah.
So I heard that they'd been wanting to do something there. So then I decided that I would try and take that on, and um, pretty much it just kind of worked out. I guess I didn't like
Yeah.
know exactly uh, everything about it to begin with, but like I just figured it out as I went, kind of.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, of course, I had to plan it out before, but like,
Yeah, yeah.
when things come up, you just kind of have to work with them.
Yeah, go with the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, that's such a cool thing. I don't even know how you would go about making a mosaic. Was that like the glass that you had to get to do it? How did you go about figuring all that out?
Um, so we used little mosaic tiles when we cut them to the different sizes. The center actually had extra mosaics in the basement because they had done so many mosaics throughout the center. So we ended up, using those, and we spray painted them different colors. And then we cut them also to make them different sizes. Uh, so then it pretty much looked like rays coming off of Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it would be behind her and be
Yeah,
rays coming off.
that's so cool. And what were some of the hardest like challenges that you faced during the whole process?
I'd say one of them was working with the other people, and sometimes there were disagreements. Everybody wanted to spray paint tiles, and we had to have some people inside sanding tiles because we had to sand them so the paint would stick. uh so kind of having to work with the people, uh okay, this person, okay, you're going to stay here and sand for a little bit, but you're going to get to go spray paint next.
Hmm.
So that's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or intriguing people by calling the tiles dinosaur scales. Yes, there was some of the one of the kids really liked dinosaurs, so that
Yeah.
that
That's like a very
helped.
creative way. Yeah. So was there a
Uh,
lot of your troop that was helping you
there
or?
there were some that were troop and some that were just that were not in the troop.
Mm,
Some from the homeschool group,
okay.
just other people who wanted to help.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
So, because the projects I've helped with, sometimes they have little kids helping them out. Was that
yeah.
that must be hard.
I had to extend the age to a little younger than I had originally
Okay.
planned because I didn't get as many volunteers as I
Mhm.
expected.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did have some than younger than I had expected than I
Yeah.
thought I would have. Yeah.
And getting them excited and involved. I bet that was a little
Yeah.
bit of a challenge too.
Yeah. And then also staying focused. Like, yes, they want to spray paint, but they don't want to spray paint for very long.
Yeah. So the thing about Stars and Stripes also is not only are you managing a team, you're also managing a team of some younger people, which can be more challenging than managing adults. But you're also doing that as well. So you're just a whole different. You're just doing so much in this project. It's
Yeah.
so
And
cool.
even like working with like different ages
Hmm.
there are different challenges. Like when you're working with older people, they tend to have more of an idea of what they think that it should look like
Yeah.
rather than following the instructions.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with younger people, uh, they'll do whatever you want, but they don't want to stay focused as long.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to give more frequent breaks
Yeah.
to them. Uh, switch it up, switch jobs more regularly so that
Hmm.
they stay focused and interested in what's happening.
Yeah. There's so much different things going on at once. Just watching my friends go through it, I'm like, wow, it's trial by fire sometimes. It's just like managing. You didn't think about this problem, and then you have to address that. Yeah, and adults and then children. And it's just, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
What were some of your favorite parts of the experience?
seeing it all come together
Mm. Mhm.
as we got towards the end. When we were gluing the tiles, it felt like it was going to take forever gluing
I
the little
bet.
tiles
Yeah.
on. But like when it finally got to that point where it's like this is actually coming together, it's almost done, and seeing it all laid out, and then even when it was done, seeing what a difference it made to the people who passed by,
Mm.
seeing the mosaic there.
Yeah, I think that's the best part is when you look back and you say, "Wow, that was all worth it." Like every little tile we put in there, turned out
Yeah,
something beautiful.
and it makes a difference.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so
And,
powerful.
and afterwards, you see, okay, I actually can do this.
Hmm.
So then in the future, when you face other problems, they're not going to be as hard because you've already conquered it once.
Yeah, yeah, and then also seeing that you can make a difference at such a young age,
Yeah,
because I feel like sometimes I don't know, I feel like I have to wait till I get older to really make an impact on the world, but you can do it right now. And I like that HG offers that opportunity for young people to make a difference. HG, Trail Life, all of them. We can make a difference and benefit people even when we're still teenagers. So I think that's powerful too. And so I was wondering, what was something you learned about yourself during the process?
something I learned about myself.
I think we actually might have, I mean, just like you can do hard things is something that I think we talked
Yeah,
about.
yeah, definitely. I can accomplish more than I would have
Hmm.
thought I could. But also, it was kind of challenging, as I mentioned, to manage all the different people. But seeing that I actually could succeed in that, uh, managing everybody, making sure nobody got hurt, and then also, uh, yeah, it also took being aware. Like there was one point we had a rule where anybody using the cutters had to wear safety glasses, but it was only if you were at the table. And then at one point, I was talking to someone, and I saw a piece for like over on the side. I saw a piece go fly farther than the table. So since there were other people working at another table, I went over
Yeah.
and gave them safety glasses to make sure that nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're in charge of the safety of your workers as well as,
Yeah,
the productivity of everything.
yeah. So
So,
like, I'm glad nobody got hurt with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine that's flying glass is not, no, mosaics is not exactly something you want to, mess around with the
Yeah.
glasses. That's good. That's something I never really thought about with the project, but you are learning to manage. It's just like your sister said, it does prepare you for the life, like the life outside of high school when you're dealing with managing projects at your business or whatever it's going to be. You're going to have to deal with people. You're going to have to deal with safety. You're going to have to deal
Yes.
with mistakes, like all these things. And then learning how to manage them when you're, I don't know, 17, 16, 18 years old. It's just, you're like one step ahead of everyone else. So
Yes.
it's a cool thing. And then also that you mentioned that you were very shy when you were younger. And then look how far you've come now. Like that's just so cool to see too.
Yes. Yeah. AHG definitely has made an impact on my life,
Mhm.
and even in the Stars and Stripes project as well.
So, my last thing for AHD before we leave, what is your best piece of advice for anyone who's planning on going for a big award, no matter if it's Stars and Stripes or something else related to scouting?
Just determination, like I said before. But also remember that God is with you.
Hmm.
He's there to help you when you're struggling, um, and and just also remembering the cause that you're doing it for.
Hmm.
That's a big thing.
Yeah,
It reminds you what your goal is, and with that goal in focus, it's a lot easier to accomplish every step leading up to that goal.
yeah. Overcome every hardship because you remember the purpose of what you're doing it for.
Yeah, and the joy it'll bring to whoever it is you're doing it for.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. I sometimes like to think of that with school too. Sometimes school can seem mundane, and especially when we have setbacks and stuff. But if we keep the end in mind, there was another guest I think who said this to me, and I really loved it. Just keep your purpose in mind, and on the hard days, you'll be able to like push through. So you have where you're going. You know what the purpose of education is, and the purpose of your project is. So, yeah,
Yes.
adding value is probably the best thing you can do to keep up perseverance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to do that. Um, yeah, and then I also wanted to mention, so whenever I was at the convention, a lot of kids were worried about missing out on, the typical high school experiences that are offered in conventional schooling. So I was wondering, with you and your homeschooling experience, whenever we do homeschool, we experience like a trade-off. We trade the normal experience for something different. What for you has made that a worthwhile trade?
There are times when I do think about a school, and it'd be cool to go to that school and have that experience.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
but yes, like you said, it is a trade-off. Even though you are giving up something else, there's still good. There's definitely good in homeschooling.
Mhm.
If as long as you find a good community for you,
Yeah.
it's a nice community. Um, like in sports, for example, you have those other sometimes outside of homeschooling community, people are not necessarily, but sometimes they're not necessarily as nice on this like on a sports team, for example, um, or at least from my experience. I never experienced anything really bad, but I would there were some other members on my soccer team that weren't as nice, and then now here in the homeschool group and playing ultimate frisbee, thinking back the other day, I realized, I haven't had that experience since I've been in the homeschool group. So like yes, it is a trade-off, and there are days when I'm like, it would be cool to have that experience. There's definitely a good side to homeschooling, and just thinking about it and remembering all the good that there is in homeschooling.
Mhm. Yeah, it's something I feel like we all struggle with. I do for sure. Like we were just we went to our local high school's musical, and I was recently in our homeschool group, and they were putting on a musical, and they were just like showing me around a little bit. And I was like, wow, the comparison here is big. Like they have a lot more resources in conventional schooling than we do. And I was just like, that would be nice to just kind of have it or have that experience. So it's tempting, I think, for everyone to do. And it's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, how have you found that you best overcome those? Is it just thinking about all the things you do have as a homeschooler?
Probably,
Mm.
yeah. And I even remember one time when I first started Ultimate Frisbee, they told us to line up. So we line up shoulder to shoulder. And if we were in a school, we would have known that they expected us to line up all in front of each other, like, like you'd line up in a school. And I just thought that was funny. We were
I
all
love
homeschoolers. We all did it the wrong way.
that
So,
so much. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's those little things. I mean, I think I like
yeah.
to think we everyone, trying to think outside the box, and we were raised outside the box. So it's just cool the way we
Yeah.
think about the different how we approach the world is a little different. And
Yeah.
I love stories like that. Um
Yeah.
yeah, and then your Stars and Stripes project. Like I'm sure you were able to put so much more time and effort into it than you would have been able to do had you been in a conventional schooling
Yes,
schedule.
definitely. Definitely. Um, yeah, and then also, like I said before, you can even shift your hours
Yeah.
so that even the hours you do spend on it are more productive.
Mhm. Yeah, and our experiences as homeschoolers, even though they're different than the normal traditional high school experience, they are wonderful and they're beautiful and you're making amazing memories no matter what you're doing. I mean, it's up to you what you put into it. You'll get out from it. So
Yeah.
like your experience has been so cool. Even, we didn't even talk about 4-H, but you were just mentioning to me before we were recording that you're going to the conference. Is it convention or a conference?
Conference.
Conference. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, all the things that you've been able to do, they're numerous and they're making impact on your community. It's really cool to see. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, why don't you just mention a little bit about 4-H? How did you guys get started in that too?
Uh, well, one day my dad decided we're driving out to a 4-H meeting, and they were having Farm Olympics, which they do annually. So we went there. I had no idea what it was, but my team won Farm Olympics, and yeah. So it was we joined a club in Claremont County. I'd say that's definitely been an amazing experience for me. Uh, and again, it ties in well with homeschooling. In 4-H, you can do different projects of whatever you have interest in, and even things you didn't know you had interest in. So, like back to cake decorating, I've been doing cake decorating projects through 4-H now, and uh, yeah, and I'm like, I really enjoy it. I wouldn't have thought of it without 4-H and AHG to give me those experiences. Um, and then it also has great leadership opportunities. Like I was telling you before, I'm going to the national 4-H conference. I actually leave on Thursday, so they chose 10 delegates from Ohio, and having had these leadership opportunities in the past, uh, I had experience and apparently was able to give an application that caught their eye.
So cool. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So when you go there, will you be teaching something or is there
We
different
will
classes?
be, yeah, we'll be a lot of times sitting in conference rooms and discussing different topics.
Mm,
And then at the end of the week, we present whatever idea we come up with
mm,
to improve the system, or whatever idea we come up with to uh, somebody in the government. I'm not exactly sure what position they are,
mm.
but like we present it to somebody to then take back to rest of the rest of the organization.
Okay, so it's like 4-H participants are helping improve the organization. Is that kind of what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah,
That's such a
sort of,
cool
or
idea.
or giving their input
Mm-hmm.
on a certain matter to the government, or
Mm.
some that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys, expect, like what your guys are going to be talking about? Or is it,
I'm in the group to talk about careers, like what
mm,
careers are interesting teenagers and
Mm.
young adults nowadays, and what requirements those jobs entail, and making them more
Mm.
available to everybody.
And I'm sure 4-H does a lot of that sort of thing too,
Yeah.
trying to prepare kids for
Yes, definitely. And
future.
like they have different offices within the club. So
Mm.
I've held an office now each year, and I started out as recreation leader, a small job, but to me, it was a big thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then eventually I worked my way up to being president of my 4-H club, and
Wow.
all the different positions within the club have really helped me to grow in leadership
Hmm.
as well. They have different levels. Like I said, recreation leader, health officer, president. There's different levels so that you can go for one that you're comfortable with.
Hmm.
And then and then you can stretch like to something a
Yeah,
little bit out of your comfort zone.
that's so cool. And for you getting involved as a homeschooler, was that easy to do?
Yes, I think it was.
Okay.
I mean, towards fair time in the summer, pretty much it becomes solely 4-H. Like as it gets really close to fair time, finishing up projects, getting ready for
Hmm.
the fair, um, and yeah, being homeschooled definitely makes that easier.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I'd say it's very beneficial for a homeschooler,
Hmm.
and it can even become sort of part of your curriculum. I
Yeah.
guess, like you were saying. Yeah, and I'm in a club that's, I think, mostly homeschoolers.
Okay.
So we all, have that in common. I'd say that makes it also a little more like we all have the same understanding.
Kind of on the same wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so neat. When I think 4-H, because I don't know anything about it,
Yeah.
I think like animals, but there's other stuff too, like you were saying.
Yes. Yeah, I've done photography, electricity,
Wow.
of course, cake decorating and
Hmm.
cooking. I've just there's like so many things to choose from. I also did a self-determined project on computer science.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, you can literally, if there's not something within the projects that you want to do, which is very unlikely, but if there isn't, then you can do the self-determined one.
So is that something that you made on your own? Is that what?
Yeah, so they give you a a layout for kind of how the project should work. Like
Mm,
it still has the same project areas. You just fill in what those project areas are.
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I did that myself. I decided, okay, I'm gonna have this as my first project area. This is my second one.
Hmm.
The different activities and stuff.
Computer science. That's so cool. I would never associate computer science with 4-H, but
Yeah.
that shows how little I know about it. But that's so cool. And is that something you're passionate in, computer science?
Yes, computer science, and acting. Those are the
Oh,
two things
cool.
that um, currently I'm planning to study at college. I mean, it still could change. I've got a whole year,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
currently that's the plan.
So to computer science and acting, is that the
Yeah.
two? Okay.
Yep.
How cool. I know quite a few people who are computer science and that sounds such a like a I know nothing of coding and everything. Do you code ever or?
Yes, I'm not. Yeah, I'm still kind of getting started on that. Like
Hmm.
I've done a
Yeah.
lot on Scratch, which is block coding, so that's
Yeah.
just more the concept of how you order the code,
Yeah.
and not as much actually writing it. But I've started getting into like typing out code on
Hmm.
like I'm doing a course that teaches Python.
Python. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah, would take classes at a local college, and I'm planning on going to physics, so also STEM related. But I know not. They were like all the kids there, like talking about code. I'm like, I don't know what's Python. Like, what are they talking about? Or have you heard of like JavaScript? I think that's what
yeah,
it is.
I've heard of it, but I haven't
Yeah,
used it.
yeah, me either. The only thing I've used is a Mathematica, and that's the math coding. Don't.
Huh.
It's not very fun. No, and everyone else says that Python and everything is more fun than Mathematica is. But oh, that's so
Yeah, I
cool.
and even 4-H actually helped my sister decide what she was going to study at college.
Oh wow.
She did
Yeah.
a project with EV3, so
Mm.
she did some of those projects, and pretty much she figured out she wanted to be a mechanical engineer. So
Oh
now she's studying mechanical engineering at college.
wow. So you guys are
So,
both like into STEM. That's so cool. And has
yeah.
like for an engineering, which is very rigorous in math and science, did she find that homeschooling prepared her well for her career?
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, she was like right on the line between calculus and pre-calc, I think it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
So she decided to go with the harder one, and so far I think she's been doing well at it.
Yeah.
So I think
That's so
homeschooling
cool.
has prepared her.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, how did you first find out you enjoyed computer science?
Actually, again, it relates back to 4-H.
Okay.
During COVID, they had this online camp sort of thing
Mm,
that they were working with Scratch. So I had no
okay.
idea what Scratch was, but it was COVID. I didn't have much other stuff going on other than
Yeah,
school,
yeah,
so I'm like, I'll,
yeah,
I'll try it. And then it was really fun, and so then I kind of just kept using Scratch after that, and
yeah.
decided that I liked computer programming,
Hmm.
and I also did some camps one summer that were like cybersecurity and computer
Okay.
science that I worked with Linux command line and stuff. So yeah, I've decided I'm probably not going to do specifically cybersecurity. I mean, it's
Mm,
an option still, but I'm
yeah.
probably going to do more like computer programming, computer
Hmm.
science sort of thing.
The thing I love about what you just said to me was your own initiative and like continuing to study coding. Like you found that you liked it and then you continue to find different resources. I love that homeschool mindset. I think that is a homeschool mindset of being able to just kind of pursue your passions on your own. And something that you've done with, the research you put into everything you've done with Stars and Stripes and then also 4-H, like it's just so cool to see that you had a passion for it and you continued to look for other resources for that. Um, do you have
Yeah.
any recommendations for programs? You said Scratch, for anyone else who might be interested in computer science.
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting out, like you haven't done anything before, definitely Scratch.
Hmm.
It's very user friendly, and they have some tutorials on there as well. I found it to be pretty straightforward for
Yeah.
me. Um, as for after you get into it, I'm still getting
Yeah.
into writing code other than block coding.
Mhm.
So, but Python so far seems to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
I use I did a course, well, or I'm working on a course through uh, Code Academy, I think it is.
Okay.
So they had an hour of code that I finished, which took me
Yeah.
more than an hour because I played with around with it so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
outside of it. But yeah, Code Academy has some courses for Python.
I think I don't know if you've heard of this. So, have you heard of the online program called edX?
I don't think so.
So they're like, I just learned about it like a few months ago. It's an online website that compiles like a bunch of classes from different universities, and they have a really good computer science Harvard class. It's totally free. You can just take it. I think they teach you how to code Python in it. But anyway, that's something that I'm looking into doing myself. If it's something that you want to look into, I can send you the link. But
Okay, yeah,
um,
sure.
it looks really cool.
Okay.
Okay, so for the last question I always ask, what is your best piece of advice for other homeschoolers?
My best piece of advice for other homeschoolers is find what I mentioned this before, but find what your strongest working time is and
Mm-hmm.
arrange your day to make the most use of that. Because I know that's a lot of often hard is not procrastinating.
Yeah.
So I'd say that is my biggest piece of advice.
Hmm.
Whether it's waking up early or sleeping an extra hour so that when you do wake up, you're more productive.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, find that time that works best for you and work your schedule around it.
Yeah, I love that piece of advice. Find your rhythm and be patient with yourself too, like I mentioned, because sometimes it takes a minute to get into that. But you also have to be disciplined enough to stay in there and get your work done so you can enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for everything you shared. It sounds like you've had a wonderful homeschooling experience, and I appreciate your discipline and your wonderful project that you made through Stars and Stripes, and for sharing everything there. And I wish you the best of luck this weekend at your conference in DC. That sounds so cool.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
So I just want to thank Elizabeth for being on the podcast, being a wonderful guest, sharing her experience. I know that's always something you have to put yourself out there, and that can be hard and challenging. But I'm really grateful for all these teens who are doing it because it really does unite us and really makes us realize we're not alone in this. And then also to you guys for listening. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed the episode, let me know and leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. That would really help the show out, reach more people. And then there are two things after listening to this episode again I wanted to talk about in a little bit more detail here. And the first one being American Heritage Girls and Trail Life, because if you have the opportunity to get involved in some organization like that, I highly suggest you do, because not only do you get really good experience with life skills like we were discussing in the interview, you also get a really good community, especially in organizations like Trail Life and American Heritage Girls that are built on such great biblical principles. They attract Christ-minded and just really solid girls. And not, obviously it's not everyone that attends the troop is a Christian, but a majority of us are, and we're just encouraging each other to be better versions of ourselves and pushing each other towards Christ more. And that has been one of the single biggest blessings in my homeschooling experience, and I will recommend it forever, I think, to homeschoolers to get involved in something like that. So the second thing I want to talk about was I mentioned that a local homeschool co-op was putting on a play near us I think around the middle of this episode, when I asked Elizabeth about overcoming the fear of missing out. And at the time, I really didn't know that much about it. We recently got to see it last week. And I needed to interject here, because I talked about the fact that in comparison, the conventional school we went to had so much more resources. And that's very true. Probably such a big stage crew and directing crew and lighting and a mic system and costumes and stage props and a literal theater, like all these things that we as homeschoolers might not have easily accessible to us. So in comparison, our homeschooling group had to locate a theater. They had to go to their community and ask for costumes. They wrote one of the plays, which was absolutely insane, and it was brilliant. And then they had like one director, and they had maybe 2 stage hands, and they had to paint all the sets, which I know they do in conventional schooling as well, but they started like from zero and worked their way up. It was such an enjoyable experience. It was probably one of my favorite plays I've ever seen, in my entire life. And we enjoyed it so much more than we enjoyed the local high school play, exponentially more. And my whole family agreed with that. So let this encourage you. Because we don't have maybe as many resources, we have to work for all of it. That produces endurance, that produces perseverance and resourcefulness and creativity at a whole different scale. And you will see the benefits from that if you keep pushing through. And it teaches us as students that life will not be handed to us on a silver platter. Like, we're going to have to work for it ourselves. So lean into that. Don't shy away from that part of homeschooling, because that has great power in and of itself. And you could be really surprised at how resourceful we get as students and how creative we get as students when we're given that opportunity and we're given that space to explore. I wanted to interject those 2 things to close out this episode. So, as always, everything we talked about in the show is in the show notes. That includes American Heritage Girls information, Trail Life, 4-H, all the computer science stuff if you're interested in something like that. Next week, we are going to have another interview, and I'm going to be releasing one I'm really excited about, actually. I got to speak with someone from the Classic Learning Test, the CLT, because I know there's a lot of questions surrounding standardized testing, and I wanted to make a resource for you guys. So that is going to be all about the Classic Learning Test. We also talk about other standardized testing in the world of homeschooling. So it's a really, really great interview. I cannot wait to share it with you. I know I say that every week, but it's true. I'm so pumped about these next few weeks. I have so much to do this summer, but it's all good things. Yeah, look forward to the summer of 2024 for this podcast. I have exciting news coming up. So that's about it for this episode. Thank you guys again for listening. And as always, continue to be fearlessly different.